7 kitchen layout mistakes that ruin every house. After 500 kitchens, I can walk into just about any house within 30 seconds and point out 7 layout decisions that are going to fight whoever cooks in there for the next 20 years. And I'm not talking about finishes. You can buy the nicest countertop in the store, and the cabinet color the whole internet is spinning this year over. If the layout's wrong, the cook will lose every single day. This is the stuff that gets locked in before you ever order an appliance, and it ruins a $40,000 kitchen in the exact same way it ruins a $400,000 one. Let's get into it. Number 1, aisle widths that pinch you. That's the walkway between your perimeter cabinets and your island. The number you want is between 42 and 48. And guys, sometimes 48 to 54 is better if you cook. Go under 42, you can't open a dishwasher or an oven without sealing off a whole aisle. Go over 54 and now the cook is making an 8-foot hike and the prep counter and the cooktop on every single dish. You see this go wrong 2 ways. Either somebody said, give me the biggest island we can fit, and nobody checked how much aisle was left around it, or the island got shrunk down to make the room feel open, and now there's a 60-inch canyon between that and 15 square feet of working kitchen. And it's a slow drip of wasted time. You open the dishwasher, door swings 24 inches into a 38-inch aisle, and the aisle is now closed for business. Your spouse needs the fridge. They have to wait. You finish loading, you shut it, they walk through. 2.5 minutes has gone by on a Tuesday night because the island got sized for the photo instead of the people working in the kitchen. Or you pull a roast out of the oven, the door's open, and the aisle is blocked. You're shuffling sideways with the 425-degree pan over to the counter so that you can set it down safely. And the too wide version is its own tax. You're draining pasta at the sink, you need a colander from the island. Whoa, that's a big stretch across an empty floor that you gotta make 30 times a day if you're cooking. The fix is in planning. You lock the aisle in at 42 to 48 for one cook, 48 to 54 for 2. Then you size the island to whatever leaves that aisle, not the other way around. After the kitchen is built, you're rebuilding or resizing the island. And once you count the plumbing, the electrical, and the finishes in it, that's $8,000 to $25,000. This is the single most consistent source of daily friction in a finished kitchen. 2 minutes a meal, 3 meals a day, 20 years. You're literally buying back hours of your life with a tape measure. Number 2, no landing zone next to the cooktop or the oven. That's counter space right beside the heat where you can set a hot pan down. The rule is 12 to 15 inches of counter on at least one side of the cooktop and 15 on the lat side of the oven. Builders cut it consistently to squeeze in one more cabinet. This shows up in smaller kitchens where the range got jammed flush against the wall or a tall pantry. And it's in island cooktops where the island is so packed with the sink and seating and a prep zone that there's no clear counter left for the hot stuff. And this is the kind of thing that's fine right up until you start cooking. You pull a sheet pan out of the oven with vegetables that's 400 degrees and now your nearest counter is way back there across the room. So oven mitts, pan tilts, carrots roll, you're frying onions. You need to lift the pan off the heat for 30 seconds and there's nowhere to put it. You just hold it up in the air. Your wrists are gonna hate you and it's dangerous. Or you pull the Dutch oven out. You set it on top of the stove because there's nowhere else. Now the whole stove is out of commission until it cools down. Guys, in planning, give every oven 15 inches of counter on the lat side and every cooktop 12 to 15 inches on at least one side. Both if you can. It means trading a cabinet for the stretch of counter. You're gonna like that. I can almost guarantee you. After construction, you're shifting the appliance, redoing cabinets, and redoing the countertop, which you already know is gonna run you thousands of dollars. And more than that, just annoying. It's how people get hurt. It's not efficient. Burns, drop pans, real injuries. Insurance tracks all this data. A landing zone is the difference between a kitchen that works with you and one you fight every meal. Number 3, the sink that isn't under a window. There's an exterior window right there over the counter, and the sink is somewhere else on an interior wall or out in the island. While the window looks over a stack of cookbooks. You get this in an open concept kitchen where the sink got moved to the island to keep the great room sightline. And in remodels where the old plumbing was on the interior wall and nobody wanted to pay to move it. So here's your actual life. You're doing dishes for 40 minutes after dinner, staring at the backsplash. And there's a window 6 feet to your right. You can't see out of it because, well, you're pointed in the wrong way. You're rinsing coffee mugs in the morning and you'd love to look at the yard, maybe watch the dog, catch the kids outside playing, but you can't. The window's over there. And the whole room feels darker than it should because the light comes in and bounces off a counter while you're standing on the far side of it washing dishes. The fix is in the planning. It's to put the sink under the window whenever the plumbing allows it. The window over the sink has had 80 years of consistency behind it for a reason. It works. After the fact, you are rerunning supply, drain, and vent to get there, which you guys know this is going to cost you thousands, and even more if it has to open up the slab. The cook stands at the sink longer than anywhere else in the kitchen. The view from that one spot quietly decides how much you actually enjoy that room. And for what it's worth, listings with a sink under a window photograph better and move better than the ones with the sink up against the wall. Check the data. Number 4, the refrigerator parked at the end of the run where the door blocks the only way through. This is your galley and single walkway kitchens where you open the fridge and the path is gone. It can happen in older galley kitchens, condos with linear kitchens, and any remodel where the fridge landed wherever the existing electrical drop was, and nobody was thinking about which way the door swings. You feel it constantly. You're cooking. Somebody opens up the fridge for a beer, and the door, well, now it spans the entire walkway. They spend 20 seconds finding whatever they're looking for in there. You're holding a hot pan. You wait. A delivery driver knocks. The kid's getting milk. The fridge is open. The dog can't reach the back door. Everybody's gridlocked in a 12x8 kitchen. Or you're hauling groceries in, and the fridge door opens, and now half of your bag loading is on the counter. In planning, and I'm going to say it over and over, you set the fridge so the door opens away from the main walkway. Or you give it counter on both sides so that the swing isn't sitting in traffic. Check the hinge side. Most fridges have reversible hinges so the door can go left or right. Just make sure you order the right one. After construction, you're moving that fridge, and if it's a built-in, oh, that means new cabinet work, maybe new electrical, so you guesstimate the price. It's a tiny thing. You'll feel 10 times a day for 15 years, and nobody catches it in the design phase because nobody memes opening a refrigerator door during a walkthrough. Just don't. Everything I'm walking you through is a call you make before a single appliance gets ordered. It's the stuff that's free on the plan and a fortune to fix later. And guys, I put all this into a free renovation playbook, a room-by-room checklist you hand straight to your contractor or your designer so that this stuff gets caught on paper instead of after you move in. Scan the QR code on the screen or grab the link in the description. It's free and it's the only time I'll bring it up until the end. Let's jump into number 5. Number 5, the trash and the recycling in the wrong spot. Either you're stuck far away from where you prep or behind a door you have to open and pull every time. Or worst of all, they're not built in at all and they're just a freestanding can sitting right next to the fridge. This is what happens when a kitchen gets designed around the cooking and nobody thinks about the cleanup. Trash and recycling become an afterthought and you end up with a plastic bin in the corner of an otherwise beautiful kitchen. And it grinds you on every meal. You're prepping vegetables and the trash is 8 feet away. So every onion skin and cucumber end and a pile of garlic peel is mounted up with a handful of scraps. So you start dumping them in a bowl on the counter to deal with it later. And now you got an overflowing scrap bowl sitting in the middle of the dinner. You're loading the dishwasher and the recycling for you, well, you rinse your cans and it's on the other side of the kitchen. So you're just walking back and forth, or you got a trash cabinet with a swing out door. You tap the pedal expecting it to glide out, and instead, well, you're bent over lifting the lid by hand while you're balancing a plate of scraps on the other hand. Guys, in planning, you build a dedicated pull-out trash and recycling cabinet right next to the main prep zone with one step of both the sink, the cutting board, 2 bins minimal, 3 if you do compost, soft close, and full extension. That's only $500. And it's all in the same cabinet. After the fact, you got to retrofit and pull out and change the handle, and that could cost you $800 or $900. Cleanup happens every day on every single meal, and a bad trash placement piles friction onto that part of cooking that nobody likes anyways. On the resale, freestanding can in a finished kitchen reads like the homeowner gave up. A built-in pull-out reads like money well spent. That's my pick. Number 6, the pantry that's too far away from where you actually cook. I see this in a lot of homes, and I definitely deal with it in a lot of renovations. Walk-in or tall cabinet, it got parked to the far end of the kitchen, around the corner, or worst, in a separate hallway. So getting to it from the cooktop is around 10 to 15 foot. This comes from designing around the idea of a huge pantry without asking whether the cook can actually use it. A lot of time it landed over by the laundry corridor because that's where the architectural found leftover space. And it fights with you. Mid-recipe, you're making something. Water came up fast. You need salt. Salt's in the pantry or the seasonings or whatever. You gotta walk all the way around. So you leave the pot, you walk over, you dig up the stuff, you find it, you walk back, and whatever you're cooking, burn. Boiled over, whatever it is. So guys, by the time you get back to the stove and everything's messed up, this pantry being stocked and beautiful with everything, it's just out of reach while you're cooking. So the pantry is holding the backup, but it's really not doing the pantry's job. In planning, put the pantry within 6 feet of the cooktop, the prep zone, ideally where you prep. And if it generally has to sit further out, build a small everyday cabinet for your everyday oils, spices, and stuff that you use next to the stove. And let your pantry be the backup. After construction, relocating a pantry, that's a full cabinet rebuild. That could cost you thousands. The cook can't be running 15 feet round trips in the middle of prep. The pantry is bulk storage. The everyday cabinet next to the stove is where the cooking actually pulls from. 2 different jobs, and most kitchens only plan for 1. And number 7, the big one, the cooktop in the island. The actual cooking moved out to the middle of the room with no range on a perimeter wall at all. This is a show kitchen built to show the cook. He faces the guest on the island, he faces the living room, and it looks incredible in pictures. Living with it, it's a different story. Start with the air. A hood over the island has to be mounted to the ceiling or a downdraft, and both cost more. Both move less air than a plain wall hood, and both are louder, so your kitchen smells like last night's salmon for a few days. Then the splatter. A wall range throws grease at a backsplash. An island cooktop splatters it in full 360 on the floor, onto the bar stools, maybe onto your guests, depends on how you cook. Then safety. Kids can reach across the island to a live burner, and your pot handles stick out, and these things get hot. It's easy to bump into things. And guess what? Down here in Florida, it's worse. An island hood needs a lot more CFM to keep up with the climate and the cooking. And running that ducting up through a vaulted ceiling costs way more and is such a headache than just sending it out through the wall. This fix, one more time, is in the planning, and it's that simple. Put a range or a cooktop on the perimeter wall and use the island for prep, a sink, or seating. The cook can still face the room if you orient the perimeter right. After the fact, this is the most expensive mistake on the whole list. You're moving gas, you're talking about 240 electric, building a new hood, ducting through the wall, cabinetry, countertops. Gosh, the list goes on. This could cost you anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000. There's no cheap path because you're fighting all of the gas, electric, ventilation, cabinetry all at once. And the whole time you own the place, it quietly drags you down. Actually cooking while looking great in pictures, that's form over function in its purest form. And here in Naples, this one is already on its way out. 2 of my recent jobs were tearing an island cooktop back out, putting the range on the perimeter where it belonged. So those are the 7 kitchen layout mistakes I see over and over. None of them show up on a finished board or a inspiration, and every one of them gets more expensive once the kitchen is in. If you want the full room by room version to take to your own project, it's free. It's in the Renovation Playbook. The link's in the description. Now, my money is on the trash one. Everybody nods at the obvious stuff, and then it hits them that their trash has been across the room this whole time, and they've been quietly mad about it for 10 years. Prove me wrong in the comments. Tell me which one of these 7 is in your kitchen right now. I read every single one, and thank you as always for watching Built by Becker.